Hey everyone, and welcome back to today's YouTube video. Today I'm going to show you a beautiful relaxing painting, and together we're going to paint a beautiful candle in the window with lots of rain droplets on the window, so it's got that really cozy effect. So if it's cold right now, this might be a nice painting to do to make you feel a little bit cozy and a little bit more calm. So these are the brushes I'm going to use today. I have got a flat brush, 1 inch, there we have it. I've also got a toothbrush, you know me, I like to use the toothbrush. I've also got just a medium sized Filbert brush there as well, and a small round brush. But as always use what feels comfortable to you in your hand. Painting is very individual and we should always stick to what feels good for us. It's not a one size fits all. So grab whatever brushes you feel comfortable with and we'll move on to mixing our paints.
The first colour we're going to mix is orange. So what we want to do, we want to take 3 scoops of yellow. The yellow I'm using is lemon yellow. So I'm going to take 3 nice palette knife scoops. And then we'll add half a palette knife scoop of red. The reason we're adding less red is because red is a strong pigment and it takes over the yellow. Yellow is quite a transparent colour, so it doesn't take much to turn. And once you have that, we're going to take what's left on our palette knife and pop that to one side. And then we're going to add a scoop or 2 of yellow paint, just to create a nice yellow orange. Now to these paints I'm also going to add about half a scoop of white, just so that they stand up on the dark background. Finally, you'll also want to add a scoop of white to your yellow. Also need some masking tape as well.
So the first thing we want to do is create that beautiful background fading from a dark black to a nice dark blue, just to give it a little bit of a mood in the background. Nothing too complicated, though if you want to add something in, please feel free to do that. That is your artistic voice saying, please use me, I want to do this, I want to do that. So always go with that, even if it ends up being a mistake. It means we learn from it and our body doesn't want to really do it the next time. It's like, actually, I remember that wasn't such a good idea. So always listen to that voice and do try to follow it the best that you can. So we're going to start with a flat brush. I'm going to first of all dip my brush into a little bit of black paint. And with this black paint, I'm just going to do some swooshing motions, swooshing from the top to about a third of the way down. And you don't need to completely cover the canvas with black. You can just have it gliding in and out like so. So it becomes more separated as it gets further down. So now we've got that black. The best thing to do is first of all, let's wash that brush because the black is terrible paint for really taking over our colour. So give that a bit of a rinse, a little bit of a dry on some kitchen roll, and now we're going to go straight in with the blue. But at this point you might think, I want to do a different colour, I want to add orange or I want to add yellow. It's entirely up to you. It doesn't have to be blue, but mine's going to be blue, so if you want to follow along, take some blue. I'm using Ultramarine Blue. So I'm just going to take some of that blue on my brush and I'm just going to go underneath the black first of all with that blue, and it's very vibrant, isn't it? So let's just get that nice scoop of blue on there. And when you've got a nice thick layer of blue, we're going to bring that up, and again in swooshing motions. For this, I like to take a damp brush, so you might even want to dip that brush into a little bit of water if it's a bit dry. It just helps with the flow of the acrylic. I kind of like that feeling. It helps to blend it a little bit better. Now this is a bit of a rougher blend, so there's no need to go too heavy on blending it in smoothly. You want to keep going with the blue paint up into the black and it should start to blend in here and there. And as it does, you want to bring that black back down as well. So all the way to the top and then back down. Remember, this doesn't need to be a tiny blend. You can have flashes of black and flashes of blue together, like so. And then once you've got that blended in nicely, what we're going to do now is just take a little bit of black on our brush and add a few flickers in here and there, left and right, where we want that black to sit, so that it does have dark areas as we work our blue in. And again, you'll want to rinse that brush before we go in with the blue. And now with that clean brush, I've got a really big lump of blue paint, and I'm going to pop this down onto the canvas, just in them white areas, and then we'll start blending it into the black. Swoosh, swoosh. This way we can control how much black and how much blue we want blending together, rather than going in straight away and putting too much paint down and having too much black or blue. We can really figure that out as we go now. So I'm going to take this brush, I'm going to blend that blue up into the black, and I'm going to blend that black into the blue. And every time I'm happy with the blend, I can rinse my brush and I can get blended in another section. Or maybe we don't even need to rinse the brush. Maybe we're happy with the blend because I've not put too much black on actually. I've done okay. I'm just going to carry that all the way to the top now. And there we have a nice sporadic blended background. So what we're going to do, we're going to rinse the brush, we're going to lay this to one side, we'll get our toothbrush ready, but what we want is for this background to dry. So you might want to just give it a quick blow with the hairdryer, or you might even want to just go and make a cup of tea. I might make a cup of tea. Let's go make a cup of tea whilst this dries. I'll be back in a minute. I hope you got yourself a nice drink to relax with. I'm going to use masking tape next, which is something I didn't mention in the intro, but I'll make sure I try and put it in the edit. So if I haven't done that, comment below, Jen, you missed it out. What we're going to do with the masking tape is we're going to go ahead and we're just going to place some little strips on the canvas so that when we come to paint the raindrops, we're going to have spaces where the raindrops aren't falling, where they've already dripped down and it's created sort of like a streak of running water, so you can't really see any fresh raindrops on there. So to do this, it's really simple. First of all, have a sip of your tea. Cup of tea. And then you're going to take your masking tape and you just want to pull some of it apart. And with this masking tape, we're just going to simply tear this apart into the shapes that we want it to be. Now, if it's very sticky, you might want to stick it onto the back of your hand or your clothes and get some of that tack off. Just be careful you're not wearing anything like a woolly jumper because you'll get a lot of hair on there as well. So here is the masking tape, and you're just going to tear it into the shape that we want it to be. And this can be any shape you want your raindrops to be. I've already previously done some, so I'm just going to go ahead and stick them on. Here is number one. Let's go and just stick that right down the middle. And then we might even have some smaller ones. and some ones that are just floating in the middle, here and there. And I'm going to go for another long one. Oh, that's big. Now the thing I don't like is a straight edge, so I quite like to tear that off just to give it a little bit more life and a bit more character. Or I try to tear it off, it does not want to tear off. Come on. Oh no. Okay, I'll get another piece. Okay, you don't want to be done. Yay. There's one piece. I'm actually going to combine two pieces together because that split in half. I didn't want it to split in half, but it did. And that's how we need to move forward with this. And we've got a bit of a straight edge, but it's fine. A little bit of a straight edge doesn't matter too much. Now try not to take the tack off so much that it doesn't stick. Make sure it's just a little bit. So now it's time for the toothbrush and the water. So if you've never done this before, I will quickly show you how to do this or explain. We're just going to pop a few drops of water onto our palette, and you just want to mix in a little drop of, my tape just fell off. Did you want to stay on? Okay, that's fine. And then we're just going to mix a little drop of our white paint, and we're going to mix them together. So we have a very liquid white. And then when we've got that, we can go ahead and flick on the paint. Let's get our toothbrushes ready. Just a couple of drops of water on the palette, like so. And then we're just going to add a nice scoop of paint to that water and mix it in so we get a liquid base. So now it's time to flick the paint on, and to do that we're just going to use our finger. We're going to pull the bristles from front to back. That's all we're going to do. You might want to tap off any excess that you have. Let's just get all them raindrops on and go quite heavy over the green tape or the white tape, whatever colour your tape is, to really make them areas stand out. This is so much fun. This is one of my favourite things to do. If anyone knows me and watches my live videos on Facebook, you know I love doing this. We have the raindrops. It's time to take the tape off. You can leave it on if you want until we paint the candle, but I just like to take it off because it's going to fall off anyway at this rate. There we go, some beautiful streaks. Now let's wait for that to dry, because the last thing we want to do is to have these raindrops all smudged when we come to paint our candle. You might want to give it a dry with the hairdryer. If you've got any big drops, you can just go ahead and tap them in with your finger to blend them a little bit. Tap off the excess. So we have an accumulation of raindrops there. There we go. Lovely. So I'm going to let that dry. I'm going to have a sip of tea and then we'll get painting the candle. So now we have the raindrops, which again is my favourite bit to do. I love the feeling of getting messy. I love putting them splashes down. You can tell it just makes me so happy. So if something makes you happy, make sure you do it in your paintings. What we're going to do now is paint the candle. Now the candle is behind the glass, so we're going to cover up some of these raindrops that we've done. The first thing we need to do is just basically map out the shape of the candle. And to do that, we're just going to fill in the shape using the middle colour that we created. So we have yellow and white, we have an orange, and we have a yellow orange. We're going to use the orange with the white added, so that we can just block in that space and then put them lights on top. And also we'll put some darks in as well whilst we're at it. So just take yourself a medium brush, dip it in a bit of water if you like, just make sure that that surface is nice and dry. And this is a fun bit. We're just going to paint in the shape, super easy. You can stand at a different angle if you like, if it helps. So we're just going to, shall we do a tall candle? Shall we do a wide candle? You can do any candle you like. Oh, let's go here. you can see I just like to decide these things in the moment. I'm just going to go ahead and do something like a crooked oval shape at the top where the top of the candle is going to be. You can also sketch this out with acrylic pens if it helps. And then we're going to go ahead. Oh, it is a big candle though. I went too far up. It's fine. It's fine. We've got a big candle. We like big candles. I'm just going to do some crooked lines down. And then we'll also have the flame at the top, but we'll do that last. So all we're going to do is just go ahead and paint in the shape using our orange, our mid-tone colour. You know what will be really interesting? Rather than actually mixing up a dark, what we could do at this point, because our surface is dry underneath, we could wiggle some of the paint around to let this behind come through so that it's nice and dark in them areas naturally with the dark that we've used in the background. So just give your brush a rinse. Now if you don't want to do this bit, just add a little bit of black to your orange. And you can go ahead with the dark there. And all I'm going to do with a nice clean brush is just move some of that paint around, up and down like so, at the left right hand side. So once I've got some of that paint off, again I'll rinse my brush and we'll move again. Just like so, just to create a bit of dark. And just carving out the dark. Maybe some in the middle there. And again, you can just paint this on. But if you don't have much time and you want to save a bit of time, this is a great thing to do. Okay, we've got some dark at the candle. Have a sip of tea whilst you wait for it to dry, and then we're going to go in with another layer. Using this orange, we want to pull the colour intensity towards the top. We want it to be brighter. The little oval section that we've created, we want that to be very bright. So we're not going to go in with the orange there. We'll use the yellow oranges there. So what we're going to do just under the rim of that little oval is just pull this orange down in streaking motions where we want that intensity to rise. And then we'll do some blending. You know I love a blend. Just pulling that colour down, like so. Maybe you want to just do a wiggle so you remember where your oval shape is. Just pop that colour on. And then we're just going to work that up and down very gently with the very tip of our brush. You might get a little bit lost in this bit. You might notice I'm starting to get lost in it. Painting is so much fun. I absolutely love it. It's a great way to really help you relax and stay in the present moment. When you're painting, you're actually doing more than just creating. You're moving your nervous system into the parasympathetic, which means that you are going into that relaxed, safe, calm space, which allows our mind to rest, reduces overwhelm, regulates our breathing, just relaxes our whole body. It actually does so much more, but I won't go into it too much. But just so you know, you are doing yourself just the best form of self-care that I believe in right now. Of course, there are other forms of self-care. This is just my favourite. Okay, we've got that nice orange. Let's have a look. Lovely. So I'm just going to keep working some of that orange over that dark area, just ever so slightly. So there is some colour there, but it's just not going to be as intense. And it'll look quite natural with these streaks and with that blue shining through. There we go. Work it up and down. Here we go. Nice and dry. Lovely. Now we're going to go in with the next colour up, which is the yellow orange. You might want to wash your brush at this point. With the yellow orange, with the white added, we're just going to fill in that rim where that candle flame is going to sit. And again, you want this bit to dry before we go over the top. Then we might also just put a few flashes of this colour at the top part of the face of the candle. Just a few streaks. I'm going to use the very tip of my brush for this. And again, just following the same pattern, just adding a little bit more life under that rim there. There we go. It gets quite dark down there, so I might not go too far in with that. Lovely. And I'll blend that in with a clean brush. I know, I like to blend. I'm just going to work that brush all the way down. And just pull down that colour. Lovely. Just making sure all that colour's on. And now we'll place on the yellow with the white added. I might do this with a bit of a smaller brush because it's going to be a little bit more precise. So you want some yellow paint with the white added. You can add more white if it's not bright enough. And you also want a nice small round brush. Here we go. I've got a very, very big lump of paint on this brush. I'm just going to now go around the back of the rim of the candle, here and there, and the front of the rim, here and there as well. Little moments, and then I might just blend some of that in the center where that flame's going to sit. Maybe there's just a few little streaks on the belly or the face of the candle. I'm so used to saying canvas. And then we'll get blending this in. I'm just going to get a few little highlights there, then we'll blend it in. Just to give it a little bit of a wiggle, just to blend that in. Use any brush of your choice, there's no right or wrong. We're just blending the tip of the edges in. That's just going to create a little bit more of a softer edge on that bright light. Here we go. There we go. Might pop some of that light there as well. Now it's time for the flame. The flame! So for the flame, I'm going to, oh my goodness, I'm going to use this bright white and yellow. You might want to add more white to your yellow at this point because the flame is the brightest part. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to create a flame shape, like a teardrop. I went in with a lot of paint. Let's make it bigger. Ooh, it's a little bit wiggly. Lovely. And on the outer edge of that flame, I'm just going to blend in a bit of our orange paint to give it a warm glow. To do that, I'm just going to use a little bit of orange on my round brush. And we're just going to go around the edges and just paint it on like a line, and with a clean brush we can just blend it in. Try not to put too much on. Go, we've got a bit of orange going on. Now it's time to blend it in. You could use your finger for this point. Blend it in and out of the flame. And when you get to the outer edge, rinse that brush again and then we'll blend the outer edge. Creating a nice glow. And again, you can do as many layers as you want. Just make sure you go in with a little bit of paint at a time, not too much, because that's where the disaster happens. Well, it does for me, that's for sure. Just blend that in a little bit. And then I'm just going to blend that centre out. It's a lot of blending. And get that nice glow. Once you've blended it and you're happy, you can go back in with your white and yellow to reinforce that shape again. You can just keep on blending like me. Lovely. I'm also going to get a little bit of black for the candle wick. You can use any colour. You can use black if you like, it's up to you. And I'm just going to go from a quarter in the candle down to about there. And it's just picking up any paint that's already there. And then I'm just going to get a little bit of the white and yellow because I want that candle wick to look like it's behind what's going on and not just floating. So a little bit of white and a little bit of yellow. I'm just going to scoot on up a little line here, like so. So we have that nice sharp edge where we know the candle is sitting. And there we have a beautiful glowing candle painting. I hope you enjoyed this video today. Thank you so much for painting with me, having a cup of tea with me. I hope that helped you relax and go into the present moment and focus on this painting. You can keep going with this if you want. I hope you enjoyed that. Don't forget to give me a like and subscribe if you did, and I can't wait to see you next week.